There were 3 spin-offs of the well-known and beloved Castlevania series for the classic Game Boy. These games have sometimes received very good and sometimes rather mediocre reviews. This installment was released early in the systems phase. To which category does this belong? What is the worth of Castlevania? The adventure for the Game Boy today. The game was, of course, developed by Konami and was also released in 1991 for us. North America and Japan received the game 2 years earlier, in 1989. Since 2012, the game has also been available on the Virtual Console of the 3DS and is part of the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, released for modern systems. The basic premise naturally follows the typical series installments of the time. You control your protagonist armed with a whip from a side perspective in this action platformer. Candles are scattered throughout the levels. You can destroy these to obtain various goodies. For example, you can replenish your health, become briefly invulnerable with the cross, collect gems for more points, or obtain bullets. The latter upgrade your weapon in different stages. This increases the damage, and in the final stage, you can even shoot with it. However, you always have to be vigilant. If you get hit by an enemy, the whip will be downgraded by 1 level. Speaking of enemies, here the usual horror movie creatures such as bats, giant eyeballs, and so on naturally lurk. These are usually defeated with 1-2 hits, but sometimes have really tricky movement patterns. Since you can only swing your whip in one direction, defeating them can be trickier than expected. The different levels are beautifully diverse in design. New approaches to level design constantly arise. For instance, in the 3rd level, there is a spiked ceiling that keeps lowering. Here, you don't have to fight enemies, but rather react quickly. Often, the areas are not entirely linear, and you need to find the right path first. However, such sections are limited, but they help make the gameplay more varied. So far, it all sounds good, right? Let's address the big elephant in the room, the controls. They are simply dreadful. You've probably noticed it in the video scenes. Your protagonist is painfully slow, and that gets on your nerves quite quickly. This not only affects the movement itself, but also the jumping sequences. They feel much more cumbersome than they should be, and there are moments where you need to jump quickly and precisely. This is unnecessarily made difficult here. For me, it's a no-go, and the controls quickly spoiled my enjoyment. Another negative point is the absence of a password system. This is particularly painful, because the game is not exactly easy. The game's graphics look quite good overall, the environments are atmospheric and the animations fit. Unfortunately, this impression is marred by the almost constant slowdowns. Sure, it's an early title, but more optimization would have been welcome here. However, the sound is typically well done for the series. What is the value of Castlevania? The adventure for the Game Boy today. I had to really struggle through this game. The painfully slow and clunky controls did not give me any enjoyment. If you like, there is a ROM hack that fixes this issue. With that, it plays much better, but I can only recommend the original version of the game to a limited extent. It simply spoils the fun too much,